Today, you and I are going to uncover how your thoughts actually change your reality and how you can speed up your manifestation right now so that this year still can become the best year of your life. The fact is, the universe loves speed, and that is going to be the focus today. You have everything that it takes. You might just not know how to bring it to the surface in your life. You see, for most people, they really don't believe they can create what they want. They believe it on a conscious level, but they don't really believe it on a subjective level. And before we're done today, my commitment to you is that you will believe it on a subjective level, or at least you will have started the journey, which is one of the most worthy journeys you could embark on, if you ask me. So, how can we amp up our manifestations this year, even if your results haven't looked like that is what's going to happen? Maybe you look at your results right now and they're far from where you want them. Can you recognize, looking at results, whether it's your bank account, it's your blood test, it's your whatever it is, there's some evidence in your physical world that is not to your liking? And maybe you're focused on that. You have been focused on it for quite a while. Maybe you have convinced yourself you are this little unicorn in the corner for whom this can't happen. Then I want you to know that's not true. You absolutely can create these results that you want, and it can happen really fast. You know, we can understand this on a conscious level. You might even watch this and say, I get it, I understand it. But then on a physical level, your behavior, your results are far, far from that belief. So that means your belief is not integrated with your behavior. And that happens pretty frequently for people. But then they continue their behavioral pattern that is in alignment with an old version of themselves. Your thoughts, your thinking definitely defines the outcome in any situation. And you don't have to look far. Look at your results right now. They are an indication of where your thinking has been up until this point. Can you change it? Absolutely. You can change it rapidly. So, as an example, when I moved from Denmark here to the US, I found myself sitting here in Miami with 2 suitcases and a deck of cards, one of these playing cards. That was the last representation of my time in Magic. And I had to rebuild my life from scratch. It was me and it was my talent, and that's all I had. But I realized that I could perform magic for tips. So I went to these local cafes on Miami Beach and I just performed for free, and people gave me tips, and that was great. My sort of treat every week was to reward myself with a burrito bowl from Chipotle, $8. That was like the reward of the week if I could afford that. And so that tells you something about where my awareness was and how I lived. But I was sitting there on South Point Park on Miami Beach, and I was watching these cruise ships sail out into the sunset. And I thought to myself, how wonderful would it be to be able to do these big shows on cruise ships? I imagined these big audiences, 1,000 people, 1,500 people, big props, big illusions, dancers, the whole thing. But then my paradigm, my program side of my mind kicked in and said, well, you can't do that. You've sold all your props, all your equipment. I split with my former business partner and we sold everything. So I didn't have anything. I had, that's what I had. My thoughts came in and said, you can't do that. You don't have what it takes. But I spent some time anyways visualizing me standing on a big stage on a cruise ship performing. Then a few weeks later, a friend of mine called me up, and he was a producer for a local TV station here. And actually not local, well, the local affiliate, but it was a nationwide network. And he said, we're designing this new show, and we need a magician to help make these contestants in this beauty pageant appear. It has to look magical. It has to be really unique. And I said, I think I can do that. So I helped them design that opening, and I performed that opening, and it was great. And I thought, this is going to be my big breakthrough. A lot of people are going to see this. 15 million people in North and South America. One person calls me up afterwards, and that was a producer for a cruise line. And he said, we have all the props. We have this big show. We just need somebody very skilled, just like you, to perform it all. And I was like, that's me. So we teamed up, and a few months later, I signed a contract, and off I was, flying out to meet my first cruise ship to perform a big illusion show with 15 dancers, 3 technicians, and a multi-million-dollar production. How did that happen? How could I go from having these in my hand, nothing but cards, as the last representation of magic, to finding myself on a stage with 15 dancers, big illusions, and a full-scale production show in a few months. I did that because I locked in on the idea. I didn't just think about it, I lived it on an emotional level. I convinced myself that that was my reality. You can do the same thing and it can happen really quickly, but you have to get really serious about working with your mental faculties, your mental tools, and I'll get to those here in a little bit and how you can develop them. But that's so essential. Right now, you probably have been pretty earthbound. You've used your mind to reflect what is in your world. That means you're going to keep reproducing what is. It's going to be the same old, same old, same old. When I made a decision after having rebuilt my career in entertainment, I was flying all over the place, doing big shows. That was not enough for me anymore. First of all, I wanted to figure out what it was I had done back then. How could I go from performing card tricks to standing on these big cruise ships? So I did everything I could to learn more about my mind, spirituality, quantum physics, personal growth, and I knew I wanted to pass that on to people with magic. And I made a decision back then. I was going to work with the best in the world in personal development. My partner at the time and I had just moved to Las Vegas, and I quit my career in entertainment. And I did not know how to do this, but I knew that working with the best in the world in personal development was all I wanted. And so I locked in on the idea, same way I did when I manifested the shows on the cruise ships. I lived from that frequency. I saw myself standing on stage with the best in the world. I saw myself in front of thousands of people doing these live streams, live shows, and whatnot. New Year's Eve 2016, my partner said, I'm going to go to work because we're going to be busy. And he worked at the Louis Vuitton at Bellagio at the time. And my intuition in that moment, a mental tool that I'll talk about in a little bit and how you can develop it, kicked in and told me to go and pick him up, but go an hour early. So it didn't make any sense. And you'll find that to be the case in your life sometimes, where your intuition and your rational mind debates each other. And it didn't make sense for me. New Year's Eve, Bellagio, a lot of people, I don't like big crowds, believe it or not. I'm very introverted by nature. But I decided to follow my intuition and I parked my car. I had an hour to spare before I could pick him up. So I walked around in Bellagio and I ran right into Bob Proctor, widely regarded as the best in the world at the time in personal development. He'd helped millions of people. And I knew I had to introduce myself. And he asked me, what do you do? And I said, I did magic. Now I want to do what you do. And he goes, magic, personal development. I've never heard it before. Do you got time for lunch tomorrow? What? Of course, lunch tomorrow. So we sat down on beginning of January 2017, and that was the beginning of a great friendship, business partnership, mentorship, and so on and so forth. But the same process was the foundation for that. It happened in a few months. How could I go from a blood test that said I was sick, financially ruined, basically, I was buried in debt, to that result? Same process. And that's what we're going to go into today. So when you look at your results and you look at what you have created or not created, what are some of the thoughts that you hold on a daily basis that might not serve you? It might be those unconscious patterns in the background. I'm not good enough. I don't know enough. I'm not old enough. I'm too young, blah, 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 all this. That will dictate your objective reality eventually. It has to. All those thoughts strung together becomes emotions. The emotions dictate how you feel. Your feeling state is the vibration that you send out to the universe, and that is what's going to come back. So you can change that. You can change your vibrational vantage point very, very quickly. So how do we do that? We start by differentiating between conscious and unconscious thinking patterns. So on a conscious level, you can say, I want this, I see this goal, but if you subjectively don't believe it, if you emotionally are involved in something that doesn't serve you, it's not going to work. So I think it really begins with an understanding of the primary law called the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. It's a big mouthful, but it basically just means that energy moves from an energetic, invisible state into a physical, visible state, back to an invisible, energetic state. So in other words, your goal is already here. My goal of working on a big cruise ship with a big show and thousands of people in the audience, that idea was always there. I went to it in my mind, I held on to it with my emotions, and that's how it transpired on the physical plane. The idea of me working with the best in the world in personal development was always here. I latched onto it and I held on to it. I didn't just go there once or twice. I went there and I stayed there. That's the biggest issue for most people. They go there every now and then, but they don't stay there. That's why you're going to listen to this stuff over and over and over again. You're going to brainwash yourself with the idea of living from your goal, not thinking of it, living from it. Because what you're really doing is causing an energy transmutation to take place with and through you. You become the center, you become the spiritual center through which this happens. You can plug it down from the ether, you can latch onto it. It doesn't have to be here in the physical world. There might be no evidence in your physical world that you can do this, but that doesn't matter. Your mental world is more real than the physical world you observe outside of yourself. It's mostly empty space, anyways. You and I don't live in a universe. We live in a multiverse where infinite possibilities exist side by side until you start choosing. How do you choose? You don't just choose by saying, I have it on my goal card, I believe it now. That's not choosing at all. That's having an indication of where you're going. Choosing it means you connect with it emotionally. That's the biggest difference. First of all, we have to understand the perpetual transmutation of energy never stops. It continues with and through us all the time. How real do you make your goal? Is it a fleeting thought, something you think of every now and then? Or is it something you truly, truly want? Do you bury the idea in your treasury of your subjective mind? Because you should. So it comes back to developing your higher faculties. You have to use your imagination the way it's designed. You are a creative being. You're created in your creator's image. So that means you're an extension of that creative energy. You have creative faculties. That's your God-given side of your personality. You are here to create. Create what? Create better, greater, more, whatever it is that you want to create. But you are here to create. And if you don't set those big goals and you latch onto them, you are stifling yourself. You are betraying your own potential. That's really what happens. So your imagination is where it begins. Your will is the second most important. It's your ability to hold on to that picture. And are you cultivating your willpower? How determined are you? How focused are you? Most people are not. We're only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. When you develop your imagination and you develop your willpower, you have something that most people will never have in their entire life. They drag that problem with them to the grave. They keep repeating what is. You, on the other hand, you step out from the crowd and you create something so magnificent, so beautiful, and you can do it right now. The universe loves speed. The energy is already here. There's a substance that's intelligent that responds to your thinking and feeling. And that substance is far more intelligent than your little intellect is compared to. Our intellect, it seems so puny compared to the intelligence that we're surrounded by. So now you're working with a higher power. You can call it God, the universe, whatever, like our good friend and mentor Bob Proctor always used to say. One person working with the source energy in this way is always in the majority. So that's a beautiful way of thinking. Now, there's two ways of living. There's living according to the evidence of your senses, which is not going to create any great change for you this year or next year or the next 10 years. But living with a new mental image held with emotion and your will, that creates massive shifts in your life. And that is the way to really live. I call it the miracles. Voltaire said that the word miracle is that word we have invented to describe known effects of unknown causes. Well, the unknown cause, we know what it is. It's a new energy transmutation within through you. It's you transmuting a different kind of energy from an energetic state to a physical state with and through you. You're the spiritual center through whom this process works. See, there's an illusion in your mind right now saying that a big goal needs to take a long time. No, it doesn't. Not at all. I'm the evidence of that. I went from broke, sick, unhappy to happy, healthy, and wealthy in a few months. I turned my annual income into my monthly income in 11 months. How did that happen? I latched onto the image. I worked with the law. I had a great mentor in Bob and 4 other wonderful mentors that since have helped me expand my awareness in other different areas. But the truth is you have everything that it takes. Right now, right here, listen to this video multiple times until the idea is buried into the treasury of your subjective mind. That's where everything begins. Right there in that spiritual center. Don't let whatever is going on around you dictate how you think. That is how losers live. People that lose in life, they lose out on great results because they let whatever is going on around them dictate the way they think. Don't allow that to happen in your life. You dictate the way you think. You are real magic in human form. And real magic is infinite potential that is locked up within you. And it's not who you are that holds you back from that. You already have it. Just bring it to the surface. Let me know how this works out for you. I'm looking forward to hearing what you are manifesting before the end of the year. Let me know in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to cheer you on as you are creating and manifesting that big, beautiful goal that is so worthy of you. Remember, what's holding most people back are all those illusions of who they think they're not. Thank you so much for watching this video. I have linked to a couple more right here that I think you would like. Now, until next time, it's not who you are that holds you back, it's all the illusions of who you think you're not. This is Anders Hansen. Thank you.